Jessica with Keepers, and today I wanted to bring you along as I make some more fire cider. We're running out for our family, but we also have quite a few people that are interested in fire cider as well. If you've never heard of fire cider, I highly encourage you to research it. It is good for fighting off colds and flus. It's a good immune booster. So you can take it preventative or you can take it while you already have the symptoms. And so I want to show you what all I have. When I have the ingredients that are needed in my garden, I will use those. We've used all of those up. We have been making fire cider all summer long, and so everything that we've harvested during the spring and last winter we're running out of. So now I made a order with Azure, so let me show you that. See if I can not make you dizzy and spin you around. Okay, so I have onion that is straight from our garden. We have some turmeric that is from Azure, some ginger that I ordered from Azure Standard. If you've never heard of Azure Standard, it is an online bulk company that you can order your groceries from, and it's healthier alternatives and organic. There's jalapenos. I have jalapenos in the garden, just not enough. And then this is the horseradish. I will need to wash it. This is my own homemade cayenne pepper. I grew our cayennes, a ton of them, a few years ago, and I'm still using the powder from that, and I still have more that I could harvest or grind up and use. And then rosemary and cinnamon, and then lemons as well. And then we'll add the apple cider vinegar and honey when we're done. And then there's also garlic. Now there are several variations to this recipe. I'm bumping the stand. Let me show you the book that I ordered. This is Rosemary Glad Star Fire Cider, 101 Zesty Recipes for Healthy Boosting Remedies. I got this also, I believe, from Azure Standard is where I ordered it from. I have made several of these recipes with pomegranate and hibiscus and several other items. I encourage you, if you do make fire cider and you've always used the same thing, to order this book. It has some really good recipes in it. So let me get you turned back around and set back up. And I am going to give you my recipe that I use of hers. It's one that I found online, but it is for 1 gallon, and I also ordered my gallon jars from Azure, but I also have some pickle jars that we have from where we've bought gallons of pickles. But to 1 gallon is 2 cups of grated ginger, 2 cups of grated or chopped horseradish, 4 onions chopped, medium sized, 40 cloves of garlic. I know that's a lot of garlic. 8 jalapenos, 8 tablespoons of dried rosemary, 4 tablespoons of turmeric powder, but I'm going to use fresh turmeric instead and grind it up. And then 1 teaspoon of cayenne powder, and what did I leave out? Oh, the lemons. And I use 4 lemons per gallon. I just chop them in half and throw them in. I don't try to squeeze them out or any of that. And then I will top that with my apple cider vinegar, and I buy that by the gallon when I'm making this through Sam's Club. And then I also add 4 cinnamon sticks in for a gallon. And then I let that sit for at least 6 weeks. Now I will have this available at Black Barn Blossoms Sunflower Festival. It will be ready. Once it sits for, let me see if I can get this to focus. Once it sits for 6 weeks, I will strain it and squeeze everything out, and then that's when I will add my honey, and I put a cup of honey in for a gallon, and then just mix it up. When you set this to the side, you want to try to stir it and mix it every so often, but I have had times where I've forgotten about it and it's just sat there and it's been just fine. So let me take you along with me and I'll show you how I make my fire cider. Okay, so I got everything washed up And now I am going to just chop it up roughly on some things and throw into my Ninja food processor. So let me set you up and see if I don't make you dizzy and bouncy and everything else. Okay, so I'm going to start with the turmeric and get it all chopped up. And I just literally, I mean, there is nothing special about this. Just chop it into chunks and I throw it into the Ninja food processor. This is organic turmeric that I ordered from Azure Standard. And so I'm going to chop this all up and get it in. And then I will just chop it into chunks and start layering it into my jars as each ingredient that I chop. Whatever I have left over after I do this, I will throw in my dehydrator and make my own turmeric powder or ginger powder, or I may even make ginger candies if I have any left over. Okay, that's my turmeric. Oh, I think I need to see another piece slid down in there. Would have helped if maybe I would have got a bigger bowl to separate all of this in. Okay, now I'm going to stick this in the food processor and get it chopped up. Okay, so while that processes and chops up, I'm going to move on to my ginger. I don't peel my ginger. I just chop it into chunks just like the turmeric. And set it to the side. And then I'll chop it as well into the food processor. And it would have helped if I would have got a bigger knife, but I didn't. Having a good knife is always a good thing to have in the kitchen. A good sharp knife. Okay, so now I will process this ginger in there if the turmeric's all chopped up like I want it to be. And since how I'm not using powder, I will use a little bit more of the fresh is what I will use in mine. And whatever herbs you have in your garden, you could add to this fire cider mix and it will be beneficial. Okay, I'm going to process them a little bit longer and then I'll start measuring them out and putting them into the jars. Okay, this is what my turmeric looks like once I finished doing it in the food processor. And now I'll start layering it into my jar and then I'll do the ginger next. Okay, now I have my ginger in and I'm just going to chop it up. Oh, turn it on and then hit chop. And while it goes, I'll show you, we have the horseradish here that needs chopped and the lemons and jalapenos, onions and garlic. But this is what it looks like in the jars. And so I just start layering it up. And so now I'll finish with the ginger and then we'll move on to the jalapenos, the onions, garlic, and horseradish. Now I'm going to warn you, when you start chopping up this horseradish and taking it out of the food processor, it will like set you on fire. So if you're really sensitive or you have kids that are really sensitive, they may want to go outside or you may want to take this outside and do it. My daughter is super sensitive, and so when I always get to the onion and the horseradish and the jalapeno portion, she always goes outside because it really, she can be in the back of the house and it still burns her nose. And that's what's so good about this fire cider. The jalapenos, the onions, the garlic, the horseradish, the cayenne pepper, they're all really hot and high in caffeine. That helps clear out the sinus passages and your respiratory system. Helps get that phlegm loose, cough it up, get it out. So we use this, like if we have sore throats coming on, we take a shot of fire cider. My younger two won't do fire cider. They will do the apple cider vinegar. So just a warning. So if you're going to make this and you have people sensitive or little ones, you may want to take this outside or they may want to go outside. So I'm going to move on to the next portion. Okay, so I got my ginger in. Now I am going to get my jalapenos put in. And I'm going to just throw them all in there and then just divide it up between the 4 gallons. So I'm going to throw them in whole into the food processor. I'm not going to worry about cutting anything off but the tops. I'm not going to cut them in half or anything like that. And I did, before some of y'all give me some real slack, I did get a good knife to do this. So I'm just going to cut the tops off and throw them to the side. And I'll probably give this to the tops to my chickens. Or the hogs. They're together, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But I'm just going to cut all these tops off and then throw them into the food processor and then divide it up between the 4 gallons. We've got all the ginger in, we've got all the turmeric in, and after this I'll go ahead and get the horseradish. The horseradish is really strong and it is really hard to cut into as well. So you definitely want to make sure that you have a good sharp knife for that as well. I know y'all probably hear my dogs in the background. They're going crazy. And it's probably just the male lady more than likely. That's all they're barking at. Okay, so I have my jalapenos cut up, and now I'm going to throw them in the food processor, chop them up, and get them in the jars. Okay, so now I'm going to work on the garlic for the fire cider recipe, and it's 40 cloves per gallon, and so it's pretty much about 2 bundles of these from Azure. Sometimes one bundle has some super tiny ones in, so I don't count them as just one little clove. So I won't worry about peeling each individual little clove. Let me see if I can get you focused in so you can see. But I won't worry about peeling all of this off of each little individual clove. I'll throw it in just like it is into the food processor and chop it up and then put it into the jars. This is going to get strained, so you're not going to have to worry about any of the paper being in the fire cider. I used to peel every single individual one of these, and I was watching Bree off of Art and Bree years ago. I'm pretty sure it was her making hers, and it may have been Rebecca off of Justin Rhodes do it, but they didn't peel each one. They just threw it in and didn't make any difference. So that literally saved hours of my life from trying to peel each individual clove. So totally up to you how you want to do it when you make yours, but I'm not going to peel each one. I'm going to throw the clove in there with the skins on. And so I'll finish opening up the rest of these heads of garlic and get the rest of the cloves that I need, and then throw them in the food processor, and then I'll move on to the next step. Okay, so now we have the ginger, the garlic, the jalapeno, the horseradish, no, not the horseradish, and the turmeric all in the jars. And so now I'm going to do the lemon, and then I'll work on the onion and horseradish next. And so for the lemon, all I'm going to do is just cut them in half and literally just put them into the gallon jugs. I don't do anything special at all. They'll break down as they're in there with the apple cider vinegar. And so I just put 4 halves to whole lemons into each gallon jar. And so I'll do that, and then I'll work on the horseradish next. You want to make sure that you have a sharp knife when you're cutting the horseradish and getting it into the food processor. If not, you're going to have a time with this. The horseradish is kind of hard to cut into. And it may be because it's not very fresh and it's been shipped and hot, cold, and it just gets a little soft, which makes it a little harder to cut into. We're actually trying to grow horseradish here on our homestead. We have a couple plants that are coming up. It gets a little hot. I've had about 6 plants, but some of them have died from the heat. So having horseradish would be a great asset with as much fire cider as we go through and use. It can be a little pricey, so to be able to grow it ourselves would be really nice. Okay, so I'm going to chop this up and then throw it in the food processor and get it in the jars as well. And we've almost gotten all of our ingredients in, and then we can top everything off with the apple cider vinegar. I won't add my honey until after my fire cider has sat for 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, and strain it, and then I will add my honey to it. So I'm going to get this done and in the food processor, and I'll be back with you. Okay, so now I'm going to work on putting the onions in. We got the horseradish all chopped up and added, and now I'm going to put the onions in. All I'm doing is cutting the tops and the ends of the onions off and just throwing them aside. Let me see if I can get this to focus better for you. So, and then I am just cutting them in half, and then I'm going to throw them into the food processor and let it do its magic for me, so I don't have to sit here and chop every individual one. And so I'll get the onions chopped up, we'll add that in, and then it comes to the quick part. We're at the end of all the hard work of the chopping and in and out with the food processor. And so once we get the onions chopped up and put in, it'll move really fast, and I can show you what the finished product looks like. Okay, so we have the onions added in, and you can see each little layer that we have in here. We have our turmeric, our ginger, our jalapeno, our garlic, our horseradish, our onions, our lemons are down in there. You can see that one right there. So now I need to add our cayenne pepper and our rosemary leaves, our cinnamon sticks, our apple cider vinegar, and I have a ton of roselle, and I'm going to add that as well. So I'm going to grab that and put that in and start layering the cayenne, rosemary, and cinnamon, and then pour over the apple cider vinegar and show you the finished product. Okay, so I got my cinnamon, I added my hibiscus, my cayenne, and my rosemary, and now I am just going to top it off with my apple cider vinegar, and you want to make sure that it is fully covered. You don't want any of it out. And then, just like when you're canning, I'll go in and make sure that I get the air bubbles so everything settles. And look how pretty that is. You smell this stuff, once you get used to taking it, your mouth kind of starts watering for it. So, I'll go ahead and fill up the rest of these jars, and then I will put a lid on them and try to remember to mix them once a week or shake them up once a week, and then in 4 to 6 weeks they'll be ready. And if you're interested in any of the fire cider, I will be at Black Barn Blossoms Sunflower Festival October 28th, I believe it is. I'll put a link to that below so you can find out the information, but I will have that this available there as well. This is a great way to boost your immune system. You can take about a tablespoon every day, and if you feel any symptoms coming on, up that to every couple hours. It'll help with any kind of colds, coughs, flu, sinus, strep throat, anything like that. It'll clean all that phlegm and all up. So I'm going to finish this off, and then I'll show you the finished product. Okay, y'all, I have 4 gallons of fire cider ready to sit and do its little magic and mesh together and be ready in about 6 weeks. So if y'all have any questions on fire cider or any recipes that are different than this, y'all leave them in the comments below. I would love to hear them. I would like to try them out. And any other recipes that you may have for like flu or colds or sinus, I'm going to spin this around so you don't have to just sit there and stare at fire cider the whole time. So if you have any recipes for flu, cold, or anything, drop that in the comments below. So until next time, y'all, live like your ancestors.